And welcome back to another edition of the I Prefer the 80s and 90s Sports Podcast where I talk about why I prefer the sports of the 80s and 90s to today. Today's topic, I'm all over the place today because I have a lot of things on my mind today. First and foremost, congratulations to the Texas Rangers as they've become a World Series champion, as they defeated Arizona Diamondbacks 5-0 last night in Game 5. A series in which Texas completely imposed its will, its dominance over the Diamondbacks. And it should not have been this difficult of a series. Because the difference between the 80s and the 90s and today, in the 80s and the 90s, it wasn't interleague play. So there was no familiarity with the teams that you might play in a World Series or a playoff. You tended to play, obviously you played only in your league, and you tended to play a bunch of games against the teams from both divisions. So it used to just be the East and the West, and then they made it the East, West, Central, and then they made it interleague play because they felt the fans liked interleague play because of the rivalries that could be, or because there were some good matchups. But interleague play some years isn't fair because if you have a juggernaut team and you have to play them, but no one else has to play them, is that fair? I mean, every year the Yankees and the Mets play each other. The Red Sox and the Braves play each other. And it's usually those teams are pretty good. But then St. Louis gets to play against Kansas City, and Kansas City isn't very good. The White Sox and the Cubs play each other every year. Once in a while, both of them are both good at the same time, but for the most part, they're not. And so, interleague play is here to stay, ain't going nowhere because people like it. But in a World Series like we just had, it hurts it because Arizona and Texas play each other during the regular season. Actually, this year in baseball, for the first time, and every team played every team. But Texas and Arizona play each other all the time because they're in the West, and the West plays the West every year in interleague play over the last 4 or 5 years. And Arizona and Texas both have been teams that have been pretty bad. But this year, both teams caught lightning in a bottle and at different times. And getting to the World Series, especially this year for both of those teams, was difficult because they were on the road most of the time. In fact, Texas, I believe, became the first team in the history of World Series and maybe even postseason baseball to win every game they played on the road. They just won 3 straight games in Arizona. They won all 4 games in their series against Houston in Houston. And they did the same thing to the first round team they played, which I think was Tampa. Or it might have been Baltimore. But they won every game they played on the road en route to a title. I say interleague play helped Texas because facing Arizona, they got to see everybody. They got to see the different types of bullpens they had. And actually, the trades that Arizona made during the season to get a Paul Sewald was with Seattle. Seattle and Texas was in the same division. So they got to see him. Plus, the pickup players that Texas got this year. Corey Seager, they got last year. Corey Seager used to play for the Dodgers. guess what he used to do every year? Play against Arizona. And so common sense things just didn't happen in this World Series that has happened in years past. I mentioned this story earlier in many blogs where I talk about the tennis player who was playing Alcaraz at the U.S. Open this year, and he totally broke his foot or ankle or just absolutely destroyed his foot in the first game. And he was asked if he wanted to keep playing or stop. And he chose to keep playing. And he looked at the referee and said, dude, there's 20,000 people here. They come to see tennis. I'm going to give him something. And though he couldn't give him anything, and he lasted for a set and a half, much respect for him giving that effort. Now you say, what does that got to do with baseball? Well, 2000s, Barry Bonds was having his off-the-chart years. And in the World Series against the Angels made a decision. They said, we'll pitch to him if there's nobody on base. Pretty much like what everyone did. They said, if no one's on base, we'll pitch to him. Someone's on base, we might walk him. 95% chance we're going to walk him. But if there's multiple people on base, hell no, he ain't getting a chance to hit. Arizona's took the bold route and said, we're not going to take the bat out of Corey Seager's hands. 55,000 people come to watch baseball game. They want to see Corey Seager hit. So we're going to pitch to him. Because there's a 3 out of 30% chance he's going to get a hit. Maybe less. 25% chance he's going to get a hit. And therefore we'll take our chance. And then they get him out the first couple of times. The awesome announcer, John Smoltz, says, in describing Corey Seager's hitting approach, is that he's figuring stuff out each time he comes up. Each at bats we gotten better. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. Home run, double, all of a sudden he's the MVP of the World Series. But the whole Texas team hit this World Series. I mean, Game 4, they absolutely annihilated them. And, Simeon had a good World Series. Didn't have a great World Series, but he did his damage as well, too. This team was loaded from top to bottom. And, again, as I said before, in the 80s and 90s in the World Series, you were aware of the bullpens, the starting pitchers, who was good, who wasn't good. But you didn't get to learn their tendencies because you only faced them once, maybe twice. You faced a closer, but a closer is going to be a closer. He's going to throw 95 to 100 miles an hour with movement and have some other junk pitch to get you out. Goose Gossage threw gas. Mariano Rivera threw the cutter. You knew what you were going to get. It's up to you to hit it. But this World Series, we had a bullpen game, Game 4, that didn't work out for Arizona. And Arizona's bullpen was used so much that Texas could figure out how to hit them. Texas's bullpen got used a lot too. But Arizona didn't figure out how to hit them. Texas changed up matchups. But more importantly, when Texas was hitting, Arizona kept bringing in pretty much the same pitchers who all throw the same stuff. And Texas took advantage. And then, of course, the starting pitching of Arizona Kelly pitched well, Pat pitched well, but This day in baseball, you get 5 innings and that's a wrap. You get 6 innings, you're lucky. If you get 7 innings, you're a hero. And Kelly got 7 innings. But the other guys, no. They got lit up. Callen is a star, but he didn't pitch like a star in this World Series or postseason. He did what he does. He pitches great for 4 or 5 innings, and then is either a concentration lapse, and then the bottom fell out like it did yesterday. He had a no-hitter for 6 innings. They lost 5-0. I'm not saying it's easy to pitch. I'm not saying it is easy to keep the concentration. But you're trying to build a guy, to be the number one guy, and if he either is or isn't. In the 80s and 90s, there's no way in hell they'd have taken out a pitcher who gives up a couple hits after having a no-hitter for 6 innings or giving up 1 run. No way. He would have gone to a fist fight on the field with the manager. Imagine taking the ball out of Dave Stewart's hands, Roger Clemens' hands, Ron Guidry's hands. It wouldn't have been pretty. And that's, again, one of the biggest reasons why I prefer the 80s and 90s sports. There's a truth to the 80s and 90s sports than there is today. There's either too much managing today, there's either too much coddling today, and not letting pitchers pitch. Eovaldi was amazing last evening. He does what he does. He is a bulldog, as they would describe. You give him the ball and you get out of his way. And if he's good, he's real good. And if he's not good, he'll tell you. I'll keep battling. But if you got another pitcher ready to go, get him up. But now baseball disappears except for Shohei Ohtani Gate, where now everyone in the world is going to bid for his services. And that's all we're going to hear about. Texas Rangers, great, you won. Who cares? It's about Ohtani. That's the sports world we live in today. Nobody cares about baseball but me. I could talk about it every day, all day, 10 times on Sunday. But today's sport is about basketball and football. Basketball just started and football is in its halfway point of the season. The great thing, well, not great thing, but the funny thing about last night, the Lakers were playing the Clippers, and because the game was blacked out in LA, where I live, we got to watch SportsCenter, and the whole SportsCenter was dedicated to the World Series. That'll be it, because we won't hear much about baseball again until we start talking about the Ohtani sweepstakes. I long for the 80s and 90s in baseball. I long for it to matter. I long for the games. Do I like interleague play? I like interleague play. I like seeing the Mets play the Yankees. I like seeing the Mets play against random teams from the National League, but not the whole league. I like the system that it had in the past where you just play one series against a division. That's it. You don't need to play every team in the other league. But they did that this year. And do I think it helped Texas beat Arizona? No, not 100%. But it sure as hell made it easy to face them. And I tell you another thing too. Arizona and Texas played. Texas had so many people get hurt during the season. Who knows who was there when they played? I mean, DeGrom went down. Scherzer wasn't there during the whole season, but I don't know if Scherzer faced Arizona when he was a Met. Evaldi got hurt. Perez got hurt. Haney got hurt. Everyone went down for a little bit. And they didn't even use Dunning. They didn't have Chapman. Chapman's weird. Chapman throws 104 miles an hour, 103, 102, 101 consistently, and he gets hit. But last night, he was on. So congratulations, Texas Rangers. You are the champions. Enjoy it, because they're already saying next year you ain't going to do it again, because it's going to be about the Braves. Because the Braves let one slip away. The Braves got to find a way to beat the Phillies. The Yankees, will they come back? If Aaron Judge stays healthy for a full season, will they be back in contention? When he was there, they had a record of double digits over 500. What will the Mets do this offseason? Now that they don't got Scherzer and they don't have Verlander, do they got money to spend? Who's going to get Ohtani? Or will he stay in the Angels? But I believe in honoring the champions. The Denver Nuggets have won the basketball championship. No one talks about them. Kansas City won the Super Bowl. All everyone talks about is the Cowboys, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson's contract, and the invisibility of running backs. And then during the season, everybody needs a running back. So Texas, today is your day. Enjoy it. You won the World Series last year with Houston. The state of Texas has now become the baseball capital of America.